Hi everybody, today I want to show you something really special. It's an updated version of my universal tree farm. This is the first tree farm that takes advantage of the observer blocks that were added in 1.11. The old universal tree farm still works, but it's not as nice, since the observer blocks help a lot by compacting stuff. And this tree farm is also faster, it's more compact. I think it's a little bit simpler, and it's also lag friendlier. So in case you don't know what a universal tree farm does, let's head inside. So you would stand on the stairs here, and you can turn the farm on. And you would AFK at this spot right here, and you just need to hold down right mouse button to plant saplings. Dispenser bone meal stem, and then the logs get pushed out to the side by the piston action. So let's see it. We planted a birch tree. Most of the leaves get broken, so you definitely get enough. It's just this one spot where you have some leftover leaves. And it's a universal tree farm because it works with all small tree types. So we've seen birch. Now let's try jungle. Spruce. Spruce requires a little bit more bone meal, that's why it takes a little bit longer. Also works with acacia, which grows a little bit weird. And it even works with oak. And in order to farm oak trees, you need to prevent big oak trees from growing because they would generate logs in spots where you don't want them. This could break the farm, but by limiting tree height to 5, you could prevent it. So take a look at the slime block extended at the top. If I activate this oak switch here, it gets pushed down. And this will prevent large oak trees from generating. Let's turn it back on and see the oak tree. So enough saplings are collected even for jungle trees. They are mostly caught by those hoppers here, and then this dropper on the side would shoot them out, and the player picks them up. So all you gotta do is AFK here, and this would run as long as you have enough bone meal in your system, and you wouldn't run out of saplings. So this is the basic tree farm. It's incredibly compact, the size is just 11 by 13. So with basic tree farm, I mean this machine here does all the important tasks. It breaks enough leaves, supplies the player with new bone meal. Also the bone meal dispenser gets supplied with bone meal, and moves out the logs out of the tree farm. So here we have the output stream of the log blocks, and then it's up to you what you're gonna do with those blocks. So there are basically 3 options. First option is to use a wizard to break the blocks for you. Second option would be, also want to show in the tutorial, is using TNT to break the blocks for you. And the third option, because in some servers wizards and TNT are disabled, you could take the output stream of the log blocks and put them into cubemaker, where they can be harvested later with your normal axe. So next I want to show you the tree farm with automatic log breaking in action from the outside. But before, because there's always somebody in the comments that thinks he caught me because I'm using command blocks. So those command blocks here are just for demonstration purposes. Over here I just delete the blocks because otherwise the tree farm will get broken because it could get stuck. And here I use a command block to place new saplings because I can't AFK in there when I want to show it from the outside. Okay, so let's turn the tree farm on. Place the first sapling, and as you can see here, the tree farm will work automatically. I don't need to AFK there to place new saplings. Now we can take a look at it from the outside. So all the logs are getting pushed out. Then here is basically the second module, which is the log converter. So it brings even acacia trees into a nice shape, which is the output stream of normal log blocks. And then those log blocks are put inside this TNT chamber. So it takes a while. This is a really efficient TNT chamber. Just with a single unit of TNT, you get 210 blocks on average. And it's almost lossless, so its efficiency is around 99.7%. So let's make a quick time lapse, because it takes a while until the first TNT will be ignited. So here is all the TNT exploding all the logs. And they are collected by the water stream and put into the storage system. So here this is a suggestion for a storage system. On the side we have the bone meal storage, and this is already the log storage. Since we break 210 blocks at once, just 2 hoppers couldn't handle this large amount of items. So we just wrote them in a water stream. So yeah, over time you would pick them up. Here you can also see the last module in action, which is the cubemaker. So the output stream of the log blocks just put into this cubemaker, pushed up, and those push it over. In case this is filled up, there's a safety mechanism. The block that would be pushed in here would activate this redstone dust line, which in turn disables the comparator clock, which activates the bone meal dispenser. So that's why new tree can grow, and so this is a safe version. The nice thing about this tree farm concept is that this is modular. So here we have the basic tree farm. The second module is the log converter that brings them into a nice shape. The third module is the either TNT blast chamber or wither cage, or in this case the cubemaker. This helps with troubleshooting. In case you do something wrong, you could, for example, start with tree farm first, then build the log converter, and then the blast chamber module. I already made the tutorial on this blast chamber, so that's not part of this tutorial this time, so I'll just link you to a different video at the end. So before I start with the tutorial, I want to talk about this tree farm a little bit more in detail, and also about some certain aspects of this farm and how to operate it, because if you would just build this thing with Schematica, there might be some points you're missing. So I really had a lot of fun designing this tree farm. I'm really pleased with the result. It took me about 20 hours to fully complete it, testing and so on, and that was time well spent. I had a lot of fun with it. So this is not the fastest universal tree farm ever. You can make it a little bit simpler in some aspects. Also, you can make it a little more lag friendly if you really wanted to. But it's a really good compromise. So it's really compact. I think this is the most compact universal tree farm ever. Also thanks to the observers. And it's decently fast. It takes 40 game ticks to process a new tree. So every 2 seconds a new tree could grow. Depends, of course, on how long the sapling needs to be bone mealed. There's a random component in there. Lag friendliness still uses a lot of redstone dust, which is the main lag causer, but this tree farm works with 0 ticks, and the only way to work with 0 ticks is using redstone dust. So one nice thing about this tree farm is that it's completely surrounded with full blocks, so the tree farm chamber is sealed off. So you got no redstone dust or repeaters or comparators pointing to the inside of the tree farm in order to power pistons. And this helps containing the saplings inside of the tree farm chamber. For example, 1.9, 1.10, we had a lot of problems with different item physics, where a lot of saplings would land on the outside. So we had to, for example, replace some of the slab wiring here, for example, with hoppers, to collect enough saplings, and this is no longer required. So this 5x5 bottom layer of hoppers is enough to collect the sufficient amount of saplings, even for jungle trees. With jungle trees it's quite close, but since you collect enough, it's okay. You might have also noticed this little roof on top of the tree farm, and this prevents some issues with oak trees. So you get the random saplings, which could cause an oak tree sapling to grow while the whole machine is running. And of course, if an oak tree would grow at the wrong moment, then you got some issues. The tree farm will break. And you can prevent natural tree growth by adjusting the light level. So if you have light level 7, so look at the light, sky and block light is 7, then no oak tree could grow, random tick based. But of course it got some upspawning at light level 7. That's why when you turn this farm off, we have this little redstone lamp at the bottom here, which also turns on. And so you got no creeper spawning on top of the dirt block. So this could happen if you wouldn't do that. Say you go into your tree farm chamber, you always have light level 7, it's turned off, and then you're surprised by a creeper in there, which of course would be, a shame. So that's why we also place some glowstone blocks tactically around the tree farm that are also the other spots at least have light level 8. So let's take a look at F3 again. So you can see there's always at least block light level 9 or 8. Here we put also down some carpets, since this is an option to also prevent mob spawning. What also slightly changed is the piston layout. So in previous versions we had a triple piston extender here on the side with a block in front. And now we just have a triple piston where the last piston is a normal block, because it's easier with the observers now to power a piston when it's in this position here, which pushes out the lock blocks, because we push in the observer here from the side to power it. Then this also changed a little bit, and here it's also nice to push in the observer with the piston, which would push over acacia branches on the side here, basically to this position. So that's the changed piston layout. I also have Clement's carpet mod here at the moment. You can see the piston sequence. Just hope it doesn't take too long to bone meal the sapling. So it's the 45% chance to advance the stage. Usually takes 4 to 5. Oh yeah, here we can see it. You can see the piston here pushes out the lock blocks. It's also quite nice that we moved the observer with the piston, which in turn directly powers it. So there's a really nice piston sequence. The farm also doesn't waste any bone meal. So for example, while those pistons are inside of the tree farm chamber, trees except oak couldn't grow. So if you put bone meal, there's a chance you would waste some bone meal. That's why we disable the dispenser with the comparator clock while the pistons are inside of the chamber. So what's interesting is, you might have saw it there, that this observer gets pushed over the dispenser here, where you have a chance to bone meal a new sapling. So here, so it would activate the dispenser. But this is no problem, since saplings have 2 growth stages, and per bone meal attempt you could advance 1 stage. So this happens at around game tick 28, that the sapling would get bone mealed for the first time, but we re-enable the comparator clock, which you can see here. It gets disabled here from the side. So if the next bone meal attempt would happen at game tick 40. That's when the tree farm is done. So the last thing that happens is that this row of pistons, column of pistons, would extend at game tick 39 for a 0 tick. And basically at 40 we can grow a new tree. So this is perfectly timed, since all saplings have 2 growth stages. They can grow the first time at 40 again, and you don't waste a single piece of bone meal. Let's also take a look at the log converter. So this is here something I showed recently. It can convert a 9 height tree into a log stream. But then we still got the issue with the acacia trees, which need special treatment because they can generate a little bit weirdly. So for birch, oak, jungle, and spruce, this converter is already enough. So only this one would run. But for acacia, we need this special treatment here on the side because they generate a little bit weirdly. So it can happen that you get 2 logs per layer. So this happens twice here. In total, an acacia tree would generate up to 11 log blocks. And at most, you could have 3 layers with a double log block. So that's why here we sometimes get more log blocks on the side here, which can happen from layer 2 to 9. And then we just compact it down to 3 high column of log blocks. Of course, it's a little bit random, but most of the time, sometimes you get none, sometimes you just get 1, and the most you can get is a triple double log block layer. And this is then pushed over and also pushed into this stream here. And here those two streams would merge again and further processed into the TNT blast chamber. Since it takes a while to process a whole tree into a single stream, you can only add a new block every 3 game ticks. In theory, it's would be insane to work with 3 game tick cycles, so that's why we use a 4 game tick cycle. Because it's easily doable. So we can only we have 12 potential spots, and since it takes always 4 game ticks, we actually have to slow down the farm a little bit just for the acacia trees, since we need to work with 12 potential spots. That's why I added this gold block structure here in the bottom here. That slows down the farm for the acacia trees. So there's also a switch inside that you have to activate before starting the farm. If you would want to use a wizard cage, you could make it faster, so both acacia trees and normal trees would be processed in 40 game ticks, because you don't need to put it into this single stream of log blocks. Could also do that and use a wizard cage, that would be also an option, but the log converter is a little bit of the limiting factor here. For normal trees, it's not just for the acacia trees. So some final notes before I start the tutorial. So with acacia trees, you get 9,700 logs per hour on average. Jungle, you get 9,400. Birch, 8,800. Oak, 6,100. And spruce trees, 7,900. Then what's super important is that you always activate the correct switches. If you use this log converter and blast chamber, if you want to farm acacia trees, definitely need to activate the switch, otherwise it would break soon. The same goes for oak. Big oak trees generating in there could wreck it a lot. So be extra careful to always activate the correct switches. Best things to do is to turn this one here off and then activate the switch. Also wait a little bit, because it takes some time until the signal arrives at the top for the oak trees, and just start really farming if this is pushed down. What's also important is if you build this thing, if SCHEMATICA, for example, so just to mention it, some of the log blocks here are part of the actual build, because you power some pistons through the log blocks. This, for example, happens to Zizuma on the Humbercraft server. He didn't follow my tutorial and didn't place the log blocks. So he just placed the iron blocks and so on, ignored those, and then of course if you try to run it, then you get some issues. So those log blocks are part of the wiring. Alright, tutorial time. So I really tried to make the tree farm as simple as possible, but keep in mind there's just some complexity involved. It's like a 5x5 piston door. You have to power a lot of pistons in the right moment with the correct signal length. And if you make a small mistake, like one repeater delay is wrong or so, then the whole farm wouldn't work. There's just no way around this. So be extra careful when you follow the tutorial. Also, do it exactly as I do. If I place a slab, you also have to place a slab and so on. Okay, now let's start. This is the first dirt block where we place our saplings on. Then we need two droppers in the back and one dispenser on the top. Then here another dropper pointing into this one, and one on the side here like this. And that's where your bone meal goes in. Then we also need the dropper that would supply the player with new saplings. It goes right here. And now we have to add a lot of hoppers to it. So we go around like this and complete the whole 5x5 area. One more here. Here we need another hopper, but it doesn't have to face into the dropper, but if it would do, that's also fine as well. We put down some redstone dust, and here we put down a torch. The reason why I use a hopper here is because it's a transparent block that, so we're gonna place the redstone lamp below it, so the light goes through it. If we would place a slab, then the light couldn't go through it. So that's why I use a hopper here. It's also disabled, no item would go in there, so you would just pick everything up that lands in this hopper. Okay, now we place a chest under this hopper right here. So this is a nice possibility to store some saplings, but it's not necessary. You could also place any transparent block like glass here. Then we need to power this dropper here. We detect this other dropper right here because we're gonna put some redstone dust on it later, and power this iron block here. Of course, you could also use other blocks. I just use iron blocks for my tutorials because it's pretty neutral. Stone would also be fine. Then also need some stairs like this, and sticky piston below. And then we're just gonna add some blocks here on the side to make a nice little entrance. Cover up a little bit. That should be fine. And here goes the lever that would activate the farm. In front of the comparator we place a block. Then we also go down, place another block right here and one there. So this completes the comparator clock. Then we go up the slab here, and this powers those droppers and dispensers. And now we need repeater, another block of comparator on top. Then we can also add a repeater right here, power another block. And we can connect this hopper line now. And here we have another dropper just to gain one height level again, like this. Now we can add the piston that detects the tree growth under the dirt block. Points right here. Block in front. So we can also add a block right here just to cover it up a little bit, so the redstone is not as visible. Then we place a redstone block at the bottom here, and another block right here, and connect the redstone dust. So in the same schematic, the tree would grow. We have a solar block here. Then this piston at the bottom is powered by quasi-connectivity, and it extends because it's updated with a comparator right here. Use a comparator because of the update order. If you use a repeater instead, then it wouldn't detect it, because the tree growth happens after repeater updates. That's why I use a comparator here. Now we need to also turn off the comparator clock after the tree has grown. So here we go down, put down a repeater on 4, and another one on the side here, and a block in between. Also here, need normal repeater on 1, another block and a repeater. And now we need a transparent block again, where we can place redstone dust on. So use a hopper, dust, and normal block again, and this goes into the comparator. Yeah, so we can also try this out now. If you put it in bone meal into this dropper here, it would arrive at the dispenser now, as you can see. Okay, now we start adding circuits that would power the pistons that either break the leaf blocks or move the logs around. So that's why we add repeater here. Points to nothing, but if you activate it, then it would power this block. Oops. Now we need a redstone dot here, and here's another repeater on the tree. Then we need a sticky piston with block on top, and repeater on 4. This is on 3. And now we add the first zero-tick pulse generator. I've heard that at some point it didn't work in Spigot, so those zero-tick generators didn't work there. I'm not sure if that's still the case. Also don't know why Spigot would mess with any redstone. So if this still is the case, my old version of the tree farm still works without any zero-tick pulse generators, so you could use this one, and it still works in 1.11. So this is really stupid. Let the Spigot guys know this. At least they shouldn't mess around with redstone, because it's really annoying. Now we need another normal piston on the side here. Points in that direction, and this one points in this direction. Alright, we continue on this side here. So add 2 more blocks, redstone dust on top, then a repeater, powering this block, redstone dust on top, and a block in the back. Then a sticky piston on the side, and an upwards facing observer attached to it. Here 1 more block, and now we go up 2. And here we need a slab, go up to the side, and add a repeater here. Powers this block with dust on top. So next we add a sticky piston here on the side, block in front, then redstone block at the bottom, some dust on top. So redirect the redstone dust by doing this. And here goes another block. And this is really the part where you could make the farm simpler if you make it slower. So this is an instant repeater circuit, because in the same schematic the tree would grow. I really want to start powering the first pistons to move out the logs as decently fast. And said this is really the part where you could make it simpler, but it's a nice compromise, I think, the tree farm. So here we add a pulse limiter It's the same. If I wouldn't care about speed, I wouldn't need a pulse limiter here. Pulse this block, then sticky piston on top, and this would cut the redstone wire, but it's a pulse limiter. So now we add 2 repeaters on maximum delay, then a sticky piston right here, block on top, slab here, dust on top in order to prevent the dust from connecting, another block here. Then here a repeater on 1 tick, and add a normal piston on the side, like this. Next we also need to tell this piston here under the dirt block to retract again. So the tree will grow, this dust powers the block, and the piston is powered by quasi-connectivity, updated by this comparator, and it extends. So what happens next, those blocks are pushed out, the piston is no longer powered by quasi-connectivity, but since the comparator clock is also turned off, it wouldn't receive a new update. That's why we add a repeater right here that would update the piston again so it retracts, but because it's no longer powered. So here, repeater on 3, there's another one on 3, and connected by this block. Okay, now back to this side, add another slab here, and there, then another scalestone block, and slab, dust on top. And here we have another instant repeater. This one looks a little different, so some sticky piston on top, another one here, then a redstone block here, and update this once. And now we can add a slab here, and this where the circuits would merge. Here's another slab right here. Then we can go over here and add a repeater on 1, cast this normal piston, and then we need 10 glass blocks on top. And we detect the movement of those glass blocks of those observers. So you need 6 in total. So this is a really nice way to activate a column of pistons at once, because all the observers would activate in the same time just by moving this column of glass blocks with just 1 piston. Okay, now we need to add more slabs. So here, some slabs on the side, and here's where the lines would merge. Then we just add some a slab tower right here. And then we need normal blocks again. Like this. And now we put the redstone dust on top. Also on the full blocks. And a repeater goes on every observer, except the top one. Like this. We actually don't need this redstone dust here on top, since this block is powered anyway. Okay, now we also need to send this column of glass blocks back down again. That's why we add an observer here, detects the movement of the glass blocks. So this height, 6 more observers on top of this one. And another one here, powers this block, sticky piston on top. This observer faces in that direction. Then here we need a slab. And repeater on top powers this block, which powers this piston that sends the blocks back down again. We also need a sticky piston right here, moves this observer, and here we need a slab with a redstone dust on top, another sticky piston, and an observer here. Now we add another symmetric pulse generator, so sand and gravel. Block here, dust on top, piston in that direction, and another one in this direction. So that's a really nice way to make a symmetric pulse generator just by sending in an observer on top of it. Okay, now we add some glass blocks also on top of this normal piston that we placed earlier. So here we need 12 in total. So 12. Then another normal piston goes right here, the observer that is pushed in would power it. Also add glass blocks, same height. And yeah, we also need to send those back down again. That's why we add this observer here, powering this block, powering this piston. And here we go one lower, do the same. Now we can also add observers here. So to fill this up, just place some blocks here. So for now we're done on this side. Now we go over here. Then we go down to add some dust on top. Then we need another pulse limiter, repeater on 3, sticky piston on top for block in front. And here we go up. Here we put down a powered rail or an activator rail, 2 observers on top, powering this block. Then another observer right here, plus another block, dust on top, and we can already add this repeater which we need later. Now we go back inside, where we just place those new blocks, and add a sticky piston right here, facing that direction, redstone block in front. Since it's just powered by quasi-continuity, we'll add another piston here to update it, and now another piston right here for an upwards facing observer. Okay, and this again one of those parts we could make the farm a little bit simpler, but here we need 3 game ticks of delay. So if you power another piston with a extending sticky piston with a redstone block in front, it's 3 game ticks of delay to get some odd game ticks. So again, if you make this farm a little bit simpler, then you don't do stuff like this, but yeah, it's not that much of an issue. Okay, now this piston observer will power this redstone dust here, prevent this line from connecting by placing a block here. And here we need a repeater on maximum delay. Then again a 0-tick pulse generator right here, some gravel, and I'll have to look this up. So we just need one more block here, dust on top. Now a normal piston facing that direction, below it another normal piston facing the other direction. For now we're done here. Now let's go back over to this spot where we had the pulse limiter. We also go down with dust on top, and now we need 3 repeaters. Standard delay, powering this block, torch here and there. It's just FYI, I use 3 repeaters instead of doing something like this, because it's lag friendlier to use more repeaters. Of course it's not cheaper, but I prefer lag friendliness over cheapness, because you can always farm more resources. Okay, then we add another torch here, here, and add 2 repeaters again. This is on 3, the other one on 4. Sticky piston, block on top. Then also add a block here, torch on this side, block, repeater on 3, and dust here, another block, and here we have a sticky piston, and this observer faces in that direction. Here also repeater on 1, powering this block, dust on top, and another sticky piston, and observer facing upwards. So now let's go back over here, where we have this sticky piston redstone block in front. We also add a repeater here. And if you do something like this, powering repeater for extending redstone block, then you stay in the even ticks. So that's, always take care of that. Here we go up to power another sticky piston for an upwards facing observer. So here we have a block of dust on top. So let's head back inside. So near this redstone block, we add another repeater here, standard delay, then another slab here, dust on top, and another repeater here, powering this block. Here we go up again. This redstone dust line, which will power this block with a rail on top. Now also take an output from this block, a repeater. So this is on 1 tick and this one on 2. They power this block here with dust on top. And another repeater here on 3 ticks, and this repeater here powers this block here, which also disables the comparator clock. Here we also add a SCHEMATIC pulse generator in front of this repeater. So sticky piston here, sand and gravel, or gravel and sand, doesn't matter. Dust on top, again, normal piston that direction, one below in the other direction. And now we can connect those lines. Now it's actually important that you use a full block here to redirect that redstone dust. And now we add a slab tower on top. Okay. Dust on top, and this dust powers this column of blocks. Now we could also start with a slab tower on this side here. Dust on top. That's pretty cool that you could use subsurface as slabs to get a second pulse out of it. That's one of my favorite things I did in this farm. Because they wouldn't cut the wire. That's great. Okay. So what happens here, we send in a 0-tick pulse, and the server would also detect the pulse, and yeah, 2 game ticks later starts powering those sticky pistons that I would add later again, which is super nice in this case. Okay, now we also add server here, and on the side, block in between repeater on 2, another block. Here we need a slab, repeater on 3, powers another block, dust on top, and a downwards facing piston. Because here we have another glass column. But we also go down here, this redstone dust, and another repeater on this side. Powers the sticky piston of observer, then 2 blocks below another sticky piston, another observer, which activates the 0-tick pulse generator once more. And yeah, this whole line is on the odd ticks, because we really need to push down those Gauss blocks in the odd ticks and also power the 0-tick pulse generator again at game tick 39, so we can grow a new tree at 40. Okay, now we go back to this power rail we placed earlier, place an observer on top, powers a full block with dust on top. Here's another block and a repeater on 2 ticks. Then 2 more dust on this side. Here we use a full block to go down. And this repeater is on 1. Then here we go down even more. This repeater on 3. And another one on 1. Don't forget the dust here. And we add 2 SCHEMATIC pulse generators right here. Then sand and gravel, of course. Then a full block here. Dust on top. Prevent those lines from connecting. Then another piston in that direction and one in this direction. Here also full block. Add those pistons. And now it's important to use slabs. And connect it. And that's where those lines are merging. Go up further. And I'll look this up again. Here I have to insert a little correction because I noticed this later, because otherwise we would have some issues with locationality if we do it like this. So we actually need a third piston for the update chain, otherwise you get some issues. Okay, so instead we have a downwards facing piston here and one below the full block that updates this piston here. So we have a chain of 3. Same here, we just change it like this. Okay, and now it should work fine in every location. I'll also make sure that by cloning it 10 more times over, sometimes you just miss stuff like that. Okay, so the pattern goes like this. Full blocks here and there, and slabs on the side. Here some dust, and here repeater. Okay, now let's stack this up. Up till here. Okay, we're making good progress. I guess 80% of all those circuits are done. Now we just need to correct one little issue. I forgot to place some hoppers here, but it's no problem, just place the repeater again on top of those. So that's the input line for the bone meal. Of course, you could also add your bone meal storage in the back here. Somehow, yeah. So, but I think it's nicer if it's near the entrance hall or entrance corridor, right here. So we now just build this because we need to go over here. So we just add 2 repeaters on maximum delay here. Then another one on normal delay. Here we have a hopper with dust on top. So this hopper is getting powered by the dust, which the observer can detect. Powers this block, dust on top, and slab here and there. Dust on top. Sticky piston, observer in the front, which would power this normal piston again, which has some glass blocks on top. 11 in total. 11, another normal piston to send that stuff back down again. And it really needs to be sent down at the odd ticks, so that's why we go back to this line here. Add some dust. And just a bunch of repeaters. Again, just use a lot of repeaters instead of the line, because of lag friendliness. So now we go over to the other side again. Yeah, I'm jumping around all the time, but don't know if there's really a good order to build this. I guess from bottom to top is already fine. So add some dust right here. Here we need 2 normal blocks. Another slab right here. And block right here, yeah, like this. And then we're gonna stack this up 5 times. So just add the full blocks now, the slabs later. Okay. Then here we go up the slab tower. And dust on every block here. Okay, here we could also add repeaters now. So we just have a repeater on one tick and some dust in front. Also here. And also stack this up 5 times. like this. So in front of those redstone lines, we put some normal blocks. I added an inner chest here in the bottom because we have some space. Why not? So this is really optional. You could also use some normal blocks instead. Okay, now we go up. Also add some blocks here. And we also need a pulse limiter, so we can add that now. So we need some torches. Here and there. Repeater on 4. And a downwards facing sticky piston block in front. So back over to this side. I'm gonna do something similar. So here we need first slab. And also full blocks like this. Go down with the slab again. And normal block here. And here also normal full blocks. With repeater on 1 and dust on top. And stack this up 5 times. Okay, again 5 times. Slabs on the side. Okay, normal blocks here in front. And here it's actually important that we use obsidian. Or any non-movable block. You could also use furnaces if you wanted to. We need 9 total. Yeah. Top could use a normal block again. So now we can finally place all those pistons. I'm gonna start here on the right side with the triple piston. So it has to be 10 high in total. 10. And normal piston in the front. Also, since no leaves generated the bottom layer, we can already place some blocks here. That's where the logs go out. And then let's continue this side. Those pistons will push out the logs. We need 9 high in total. And then a double piston that grabs the logs. Both are sticky. Now the side pistons. So we always need a double here. Also here. And the same on the other side. Okay, then here we also need a double, but it's one in the front, because there's no block in front of it. This has to be sticky also, because it pushes a little bit faster if you powder for short pulse. So they're also 10 high. Only those are a little bit lower. Since the leaves got generated this height. Okay. Now we can add some acacia logs here. So the top one could be a normal block again. Same on this side. And yeah, now every second block is an observer. Here we have sticky pistons. And this could be any block. Now on this side, the observers face in that direction. Quickly check out the one higher. What did I do? Made an error here. Sorry, we have to correct it. So here we have sticky pistons all the way, of course. And yeah, here's every second block is an observer. And column of normal pistons here in the front. And fill this up with normal blocks. Okay, you can also fill up this now. And here you already can place some logs, because we're gonna power those pistons through those logs. And the same goes for those sticky pistons in that position, they're powered via those logs. So logs up to 9 high. The top again, you can use some normal blocks instead. Okay, some finishing touches on the inside. Since some saplings could land in here, we'll add 2 more hoppers here that connect to this dropper, of course. Can also add carpet now. Since we don't have sufficient light levels here on the side, I think it looks a little bit nicer to cover some hoppers with carpet. Okay. I think we also need to place one more glowstone block on the outside. Exactly. Next to this gravel block here, we need another glowstone block. And we still didn't place the observers next to the glass blocks here, so we're gonna do this now. Which of course is an issue because we're powering the pistons now. Should have done it earlier. Yeah, we need to move this back. This was a little bit, my fault, sorry. Also on this side. And put those back in. Alright. Okay, so the actual tree farm minus some optional part is done. I found one little mistake. This repeater here, where is it? Has to be set on 3 ticks. Hope you can correct it. Okay, now moment of truth, we can try it out. Put some bone meal in your dispenser and turn this on. Now moment of truth, I haven't tested this myself. Now I really hope it works. Oh yeah, that looks good. Let's do one more. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Also, if you always test it, then make sure that you remove those blocks afterwards, so the farm doesn't get stuck. Okay, so now the optional parts are the automatic oak switch. Another option, instead of using the slime block piston extender, is to place an obsidian block at the correct height, which would be the 8th layer. So 2, 4, 6, 8. You could place an obsidian block here to make a manual oak switch. That is an option, or you can make an automatic one. So I'm going to show you this. Also, the acacia switch is also a little bit optional. So for the TNT system, you're going to need the acacia switch. In case you convert the logs in a different way, you don't need it. So what also is a little bit optional is the roof on top. In case you build a farm underground, then obviously you already have one. But if you build it overground, then we need to prevent skylight levels. So that's Now we build a roof on top. So 2 more layers. Then also close this off. So here we also need some obsidian blocks later for the oak switch. That's why I leave those open. So the slime doesn't attach, of course. You could also use furnaces, but I prefer obsidian since it's not a tile entity. Okay, now we also need to go out to the side because there are pistons let skylight through. Like this. And to this side. And here. It was a quick day again. Noticing it getting a little bit unfocused now. I've been recording for about 3 hours. So we need another ring around it, like this. Really be sure. Okay, this is fine now. Okay, now we'll add the switches for the oak and the optional acacia mode. So the left one is oak, right one acacia. Then need some redstone lamps below. Also, if you turn this on, it's far away from the dirt block, so the light levels don't interfere. And also we take an output from the redstone lamp with observers. So in here we just need to find a way through this redstone mess. That's why we needed a slab here, so it doesn't get powered, and now we can go up. Okay, we need the first output. Power a block. Just we could do another block and some powered rails. But no, redstone friendliness is not really important since this is getting activated once. So I think it's easier like this. Then we go up a few more. I have to look this up. So we go up one more here. Then some normal blocks. 5, 6, and 2 in that direction. And some dust again. And now we can add the flying machine. So for the flying machine we need an observer here, which would power this sticky piston. Here a slime block. The observer here, power this sticky piston. Connect it to this observer. And added an obsidian on non-movable block at the top. So the flying machine also gets stopped on its way back up. And I'll just add some more slime blocks here. Oops. Up to this point. Of course I didn't mention it earlier, if you do the manual oak switch, you just need to close the roof, obviously. Okay, we can also try out the flying machine, so you can see it in action, it goes down, and if you update this one, it goes back up again. Okay, now let's do the acacia switch, which is required for the TNT module I showed. If you use a different lock converter, which might have some pros and cons, then you don't need to slow it down. Also doesn't slow it down a lot. So with acacia, the tree could grow every 50 game ticks instead of 40. So I didn't make any tests, but I guess instead of 9,700, you could expect probably around 11,500 locks per hour with a faster lock converter. But if you use legit TNT, it definitely wouldn't be as efficient with TNT if you use a different one. Okay, anyway, let's continue. 2 observers below the redstone lamp, block here, then a sticky piston, then here we either need a redstone block or a cauldron, depends what you prefer, whatever you're short on. Then either a comparator and repeater or 2 repeaters, like this. So now it's turned off by the default. Now we also go down here. If we need 2 repeaters on maximum delay, and we go down. Some dust. Also those are on maximum delay, so this is locked at the moment. It's getting messy in here. So from here we go to the left next to the redstone lamp and add a repeater on 2 ticks. This powers a block and on top of this block we place a redstone dust. So it should be reachable somehow. And this connects, whoops, what happened? And this also connects to this redstone dust line, which disables the comparator clock. Okay, so that's the acacia switch. Alright, so the actual tree farm is done now. What I'm also going to show you in this video is how to build the lock converter next. I'm not going to show this blast chamber, I'll just link you to a different video. I also made a block by block tutorial there, just have to follow this separate video. I might do a wizard version in a separate video later, and you wouldn't need the separate acacia switch there. Then I won't do a block by block tutorial on the storage system, since that's really optional. Here we have a world download. You could use this if you want to use this, it's fine. Just talk about a little bit of the options you have. So here we have 5 double chests for bone meal. And this would last, depending on tree type, around 2 to 2.5 hours. So if you would want to AFK overnight, 8 to 10 hours, you need of course more storage. Here I've already limited with that stuff. Just want to mention it, there's another option where you could add your bone meal storage. So if you look through there, this is the hopper that feeds the bone meal dispenser. You could add a line of hoppers like this and add your bone meal storage here. That's also an option. Another option is of course to use a shulker box system, which is filled with bone meal because it's more space efficient if you really want to store a lot of bone meal, but it would be hard to add it on this side, since the shulker box system requires more space than a straight up double chest system. Okay, I guess I got that covered. Now let's continue with the lock converter. Okay, now you can add some hoppers. I'm gonna do it like in the world download version. What I said, it's optional. Then we take an output from this piston that's getting powdered. Add a repeater on 4 here, then another repeater on 1. Power this block. And a repeater on 2. Here we'll add a circuit pulse generator. So sand and gravel. By the way, if you have a problem with enderman griefing, you could always place some sand blocks around, so to limit access from enderman. Then need some updating pistons again. This faces upwards, this to the side. Now we can also add the pistons that would push the logs further. So here we need a 9 column. And then there's 3 blocks of space in between, and it's not possible that you get a double acacia log at the lowest layer, so that's why it's enough to take it from here. Here we also push it up to compact it the first time. Those pistons would push it further, and we also add a piston at the top that compacts it. Now more slab wiring. So to power those pistons. Also this bottom piston needs to be powered. You can start adding redstone dust. Now alternate. Till here. And here we need some repeaters. That wasn't intended. Like this. Now add the dust and the repeaters. And we also need to power this one. Like this. Okay, now we'll take care of the main part of the acacia trees, and all the other trees also would just be transported with those pistons, since we just have 1 log per layer. So we go out 5 blocks, and we'll add the log converter for the 9 high trees. So I would love to link you to my tutorial that I made recently for exactly this system, but since this time it's mirrored, I'll do a separate block tutorial for you, since it's a little bit inconvenient to build mirrored stuff. Okay, so we have a normal piston just in the middle at the 5th layer, and at the bottom and top we have a double piston extender, like this. Okay, now we take an output from an observer that detects the lowest moving block. We power this block here. Add some, that's the top. Powers this block. Turn. Actually, we can do it like this, yeah. Then repeater on 3. And another dust here. We also detect this redstone dust from an observer. We go up and power this block. Okay, so here we add another repeater on 2. And we need a slab to connect those 2 lines. And add a repeater right here, which powers a block, which in turn powers the sticky, this redstone dot powers this block. And yeah, now we can add the double piston extender that pushes the lock further. And so those 2 will be pushed up. Now we just need to push those 2 up. So that's why we have a sticky piston with this normal piston in front. Can also add it at the top now. With the same there. Goes here. Okay. Those are facing down. Now we can add another block right here. Then a torch on the side, another block and torch on top. 1 more block. And this repeater is on 4, powers this block, and another piston here. Now we add some observers here, and there, and they would power those blocks. Now we can build the super speed bud. So next to the sticky, and next to this normal piston we place 3 stickies. Then sticky, normal and sticky, and a block here. Then here we put down a comparator and another one here. In the back we need a furnace. It doesn't have to be a furnace, but just any container block that would output single strength of 7. Can achieve that by putting in a stack and 19 items. Okay, also here a stack and 19. Okay. Then some dust here, there. Here we power this piston. We also prevent it from connecting by doing this. Then some slabs here. And put dust on top. Okay, now we go over. Like so. And add dust. We need to prevent this dust from powdering those pistons. That's why we place down a button on top of this furnace. Then here we need the same. That's why we place down another button here. Okay, then 1 more normal piston. That direction. Should update this one. Oops, that wasn't intended, but no problem. Some dust here. Again, block prevents it from connecting. And connect to this, and now we can add the redstone block last. And any block that is pushed in here will be immediately removed. Okay. Okay, now we take another output from this observer, power a block, rail on top, another observer, another rail, then 3 more servers. We power this block and put a dust on top, power this block. Also we take the redstone dust of this observer, which in turn powers a repeater on 2 ticks. And here's another dust. Then coming from those two blocks here, we take an output. So this one is on 3 ticks, the other one on 4. And here we need another slab. There's one. Okay, to power the piston below. Okay, so here we just go down 2 blocks, redstone dust, and here goes another repeater on 4 ticks, which would power this redstone dust here, normal block. And yes, last slight mistake, since this one is 4, this one has to be on 2, just remember that. So correction here, this one has to be on 2. Now we can also go over to the other side again and place another observer here, facing downwards, powering this block. Then next step we need to take or detect this sticky piston here of this observer, which powers this block. And here we need some rails again, powered or activator. Another observer detects that, points in that direction. Okay. Then last thing is detect this lower sticky piston and propagate the signal into the logs here. Okay, so this part is done. And now back over to this side here. So here we need another double piston extender. Sticky and normal here. Then repeater on 3 ticks. Full block here. Here we go down again. And this one is on 4. Also powers this one. Then server detects the sticky piston and powers this block here. And up here you need another normal piston to push down logs further. Repeater on 4 ticks. Another full block. Redstone dust on top and upwards facing piston. Then over here we need to go down to the side. Need to add some delay with those repeaters. Here we also go down. And another one on 3. Then we also need to extend the pulse here, so that's why we add this comparator. And make this little pulse extender. So this repeater, which is set to 3, will power this block here. Here we add another dust and power this piston in turn. Just a redstone block in front. Now we can add more pistons here. I should push the logs further. Also here we put down another full block and a dust on top. So this repeater, which is set to 3, will power this block here. Here we add another dust and power this piston in turn. Just a redstone block in front. Now we can add more pistons here. I should push the logs further. Also here we put down another full block and a dust on top. Another block goes here, dust on top, and another sticky piston, block in front. Go down once more. And another repeater here, powers this block. And yet another double piston extender, so sticky and normal. Then again the observer output and power this block here. Okay, so almost done. So here those 3 blocks are getting pushed over. Now we need another piston to push that stuff out. So in order to power those pistons we need another super speed bed. It's the exact same thing we built over there. So try to go as fast as possible, but build it up so you can see the blocks that I'm placing. So again, here the comparators, back the furnaces again, same amount of items, so stack 9 and 19. Same here. Okay. Now we need to power this one, go up, slabs. Another block here to prevent it from connecting. Then here the part on the back here. This time we do it a little bit differently, so this would just work as well. Another block here. And now the last part, the redstone block, needs to be sent back. That's why we have that. And add the redstone block. And now we need to merge those streams again. So coming from here. Here we need another piston. And now a torch below. It would power any incoming block and immediately send it further. So that's why we need another piston here. And here, slab is sometimes required like this. So any block that is pushed in here gets immediately sent out. Also here from the top, we need to push those blocks down once they arrive here. That's why we power them here. There we go. Yeah, I'll just put a redstone block here in the back. Power them. So again, we need to power this one by quasi-connectivity. Some slabs are required now. And another piston here. Now add the dust and we're done here. So actually, since I have it in both systems, I'll also show you how to send the blocks a little bit further. So this is 7 blocks here between, then another normal piston here. Again, it's getting 0 ticked. Okay, like this. So any block sent here, pushed over. And now, if you want to build a TNT blast chamber, I'll link you to the other video. So here we have the input. I built everything up till here, and the tutorial starts right here. So just have to connect those two. Okay, here's a good time to mention it now. You need to fill up everything up till here with logs, also this side, because otherwise you might get some issues if you would start your tree farm the first time with acacia. But that prevents it. Here it's actually not required on this side, so you can leave this empty, it would fill up over time. If you're interested in that cubemaker version, I'll quickly make a tutorial, it's not much. So we just fill this up quickly. Okay, so we can work with that. Then we add 11 pistons that push the logs upwards. Here we place a normal piston again for a block update detector. So here a slime block, then here another redstone block with dust on top. Of course you could also use just a normal block which is powered by lever. Okay, we go over 3 blocks, add the 0 tick pulse generator, sticky piston here and there, another one to update, redstone block here, normal block there, then some dust here, and power this whole line of pistons. Here goes another repeater, which powers a normal piston that sends the block back. So another block here, and this sends the slime block structure back. Now let's activate the butt, so everything gets pushed up. We can move that again. Now we can actually use a fill command here. Now we need to fill this up with a complete piston wall, so this will be 12 high, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now, yeah, go over 11. Pistons, yeah, even though correct orientation, nice. So on the back, line of redstone, dust on top of full blocks. Alright. So at the very top we can place down an observer right here. Since speed is not an issue here, we can use the observer. Don't need a button, a security pulse generator there. Yeah, just power this other sticky piston with an observer here. And we always place down some observers, so this sticky piston would extend, power this line here. So every second block in an observer now. And at the bottom the mount block, and now dust on top. Okay, so the last thing for the cubemaker is the safety mechanism. You really want that, because if this would fill up and then blocks would get stuck, Treeform would break. Okay, so we need to go over 12, piston can push 12 blocks. Unfortunately 16 would be nicer in some cases. Okay, 6, 8, 10, 12. And we need to power this block. Okay, again remove them again. Keep this one powered. And here we put power sticky piston and just use some slime blocks here. Yeah, we connect it later. Now we need to also hook this up to the comparator clock. Let me find a way inside of here. So we're gonna do, we just pull down this block to disable the comparator clock. Okay, for this version it's required to change out those normal blocks with obsidian blocks or non-movable blocks. Okay, add the comparators again, since we'll have a slime block here. Okay, a sticky piston there. Facing upwards. Here goes the torch. So this is not disabled by default, and connected. Is that enough string strength? Didn't count. Okay. Okay, so that's finally it. End of the tutorial. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to build a storage system for the auto lock breaking version, then you could check out the world download. So there's a template, or you could do a storage system on your own. You could also use a shulker box system for more storage space. Okay, so then thanks a lot for watching. Leave a like and subscribe or whatever. Bye bye.